Separation axioms. The separation axioms in topological spaces are of various degrees of strength. They are called T0, T1, T2, T3 and T4 axioms in ascending order of strength. T0 being the weakest separation axiom. Topological space X is said to satisfy the T0 axiom, or we say that X is a T0 space if given any two distinct points in the space X, there exists an open set which contains one of them but not the other. If X is a space and if we are given two distinct points, say X and Y, then either there will be an open set, say U, containing X but not containing Y, or if we have, say, an open set V which contains Y but it does not contain X, then we say that the space X is T0. Samples of T0 spaces. First example is all metric spaces are T0. If XD is a metric space, then for any X and Y element of X where X not equal to Y, we know that since the space is a metric space, X not equal to Y must imply that D of XY is greater than 0. Then if we choose a real number R such that 0 less than R less than D of XY may be equal to D of XY as well, then if we consider the open ball centered at, say, X with radius R, then X will be a member of U, but since D of XY is greater than or equal to R, and since this open ball contains only those points which are at a distance less than R from our point small x, Y will not be a member of this U. So we have an open ball which is an open set, say U, such that X element of U and Y does not belong to U. So using the definition of T0 spaces, we can conclude that our metric space X is T0. Hence all metric spaces are T0. Now note that a pseudo metric space is a metric space if and only if it is a T0 space. We have already proved that if XD is a metric space, then it is T0. Now to prove the converse part, let XD be a pseudo metric space and assume that the space is T0. We need to show that XD is a metric space. That is, we need to prove that D of XY equal to 0 implies that X is equal to Y. Or we can prove its contrapositive also. That is, X not equal to Y implies that D of XY is not equal to 0. Let X and Y be 2 points of our space such that X not equal to Y. Then, since space is T0, there will be an open set containing X and which does not contain Y, or there will be an open set which contains Y but fails to contain X. Let us assume that there exists an open set U such that X element of U and Y does not belong to U. Since X element of U, there exists, say, a real number R greater than 0 such that an open ball centered at X with radius r will be contained in U. But here we have assumed that y does not belong to U. We can say that y will not be a member of its subset b of xr. This implies that d of xy is greater than or equal to r. Since if it were less than r, then y would have been a member of our open ball. So d of xy must be greater than or equal to r. And since r is greater than 0, we can conclude that d of xy is definitely not equal to 0. So we have proved that if x is not equal to y, then d of xy is not equal to 0 as required. So we can conclude that the space XD is a metric space. So whenever a pseudometric space is T0, it will be a metric space. Thus we have proved that a pseudometric space is a metric space if and only if it is a T0 space. Now let us consider another example for T0 space. Let τ be the topology on R whose members are phi, R and all sets of the form open interval A infinity for A element of R. Then R τ will be T0. Τ is defined as the collection which contains R, phi and all open sets of the form A infinity where A element of R. Now to prove that this space is T0, let us consider two elements, say x and y from R, and assume that they are distinct. Then we know that either x will be less than y or y will be less than x. Let us assume that x is less than y. Then we have real line x is less than y. Now we know that if we consider any real number a such that x less than or equal to a and a less than y, there will be infinitely many real numbers satisfying this condition since x is strictly less than y. So if we take any such real number a, then we can see that the open interval a infinity will contain point y, but x will not be a member of that open interval. So we obtained an open set which contains y but fails to contain our point x. Therefore, we can conclude that R τ is T0. Now let us define T1 spaces. A space is said to satisfy the T1 axiom or is said to be a T1 space if for any two distinct points x and y of x, there exists an open set containing x but not y, and also another open set containing y but not x. All metric spaces are T1 since if we consider a metric space say xd and if we take two distinct points x and y, then as we have observed earlier, d of xy will be greater than 0, and if we let r to be any real number such that 0 less than r less than d of xy, then and if we define two open sets u and v such that u is equal to the open ball centered at x with radius r and v be the open ball centered at y with radius r, then both u and v are open in the space x, and we can see that x will be a member of u but u fails to contain y. Also, v is an open set such that x does not belong to v but y is an element of v. So we can say that this space is T1. Hence all metric spaces are T1. Also, from the definition itself, it is obvious that every T1 space is T0. So, we can say that the T1 axiom is stronger than T0 axiom. We can also observe that the converse is false. That is, every T0 space need not be T1. The topological space which we considered earlier, R tau, where tau is defined as the collection of all sets phi R and open intervals of the form A infinity where A element of R. It is obvious that this space is T0 but not T1. So we can say that T1 axiom is strictly stronger than T0, since there are T0 spaces which are not T1. So T1 axiom is strictly stronger than T0. Now we are going to derive a characterization of T1 spaces. Proposition: for a topological space X tau, the following are equivalent. First statement, the space X is a T1 space. Second one, for any point small x element of capital X, the singleton set X is closed. Third statement, every finite subset of X is closed. Fourth statement says that the topology tau is stronger than the cofinite topology on X. We need to prove the equivalence of all the four statements. To prove that 1 implies 2, assume that 1 holds, and to prove the second statement, let us take a point small x element of capital X. To prove that singleton set X is closed, we can show that complement X minus singleton set X is open. So it is enough to show that X minus singleton set X is a neighborhood of each of its points. So let us take a point, say Y element of X minus singleton set X. Then we can show that X minus singleton set X is a neighborhood of this point Y. Since Y is a member of the complement of singleton set X, it is obvious that X and Y are distinct. Now the space is T1, so there exists an open set, say V, such that Y element of V and X does not belong to V. Therefore, we have Y is a member of V and V is contained in X minus singleton set X, where V is open. This implies that X minus singleton set X is a neighborhood of Y using the definition of neighborhoods. Thus we have proved that X minus singleton set X is a neighborhood of each of its points, since this Y was arbitrarily chosen. Therefore, as required, we have proved that X minus singleton set X is open and so singleton set X is closed. Therefore, 1 implies 2. Now to prove 2 implies 1, assume that 2 holds. We need to prove that X is T1. So let us take X and Y from capital X and assume that they are distinct. Then 2 implies that X minus singleton set X is open, since singleton set X is closed. Similarly, since singleton set Y is closed, its complement X minus singleton set Y is also open. Let us label the first set as V and let this set be labeled as U. Then we can see that X element of U, but Y does not belong to U. Similarly, Y belongs to V, but X does not belong to U. Therefore, we can conclude that the space is T1. So 2 does imply 1. In exams, if you are asked to state and prove a characterization for T1 spaces, the second statement is enough. You can state that a space is T1 if and only if singleton set X is closed, and then proceed with the proof of 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1. Now let us prove the equivalence of 2 and 3. 2 implies 3 is rather obvious, since if we take any finite set, say x1, x2, etc., x set, subset of x, then we can express A as the union of singleton sets. This is in fact a finite union of closed sets, since each singleton set is closed from our assumption 2. So this is a finite union of closed sets. We know that collection of closed sets is closed with respect to finite union, or rather finite union of closed sets is closed. Hence our A is also closed. So we have proved that every finite subset of X is closed. Hence 2 does imply 3. To prove the converse, 3 implies 2. Assume that every finite subset of X is closed. Then it is obvious that if we take any singleton set, then it is also closed, being a finite subset of the space X. So as claimed, 3 does imply 2. Now we can prove the equivalence of 3 and 4 easily. Let us first show that 3 implies 4. Assume 3, that is, assume that every finite subset of the space X is closed. To prove that tau is stronger than the cofinite topology, let U be any cofinite subset of X. That is, we assume that U belongs to the cofinite topology. We need to show that U belongs to tau. From the definition of cofinite subsets, we can say that its complement X minus U is finite. But we have assumed that every finite subset of X is closed. Hence, we can say that X minus U is closed. This will imply that its complement is open. So, we can say that U is open with respect to tau, or that U belongs to tau. Thus, we have proved that whenever U element of the cofinite topology, U is also a member of tau. That is, cofinite topology is weaker than tau, or we can say that tau is stronger than the cofinite topology. Therefore, 3 does imply 4. Now, to prove that 4 implies 3, to prove that every finite subset of X is closed, let A be a finite subset of X. Then X minus A is a cofinite subset. This implies that X minus A belongs to the cofinite topology. Since tau is stronger than the cofinite topology, X minus A will belong to tau as well. Or we can say that X minus A is open with respect to tau, or that A is closed with respect to tau. Thus, 3 holds. Hence, 4 implies 3. Thus, we have proved the equivalence of 1 and 2. Then we have proved that 2 and 3 are equivalent. Then we proved that 3 and 4 are also equivalent statements. Thus, the proof of our proposition is complete. Now, let us consider another proposition which states that if Y is an accumulation point of a subset of T1 space X, then every neighborhood of Y contains infinitely many points of the set A. To prove this statement, we have to consider a neighborhood, say N, of Y. we need to show that this N contains infinitely many points of A. So we consider the intersection of A and this neighborhood, excluding the point Y, and we labeled this set as F. We need to show that this F is infinite. We assume the contrary instead. We try to find out what happens if this F were finite. Since the space is T1, this would imply that F is closed using characterization of T1 spaces. We know that a space is T1 if and only if every finite subset of it is closed. So F is closed. This implies that X minus F, its complement, is open. And since Y does not belong to F, since we have excluded the point Y here, Y will not be a member of F. So Y will be a member of its complement. Thus we have obtained an open set X minus F which contains the point Y. X minus F is open, so it is a neighborhood of each of its points. So it will be a neighborhood of Y also. So we have two neighborhoods. N is a neighborhood of Y and X minus F is a neighborhood of Y. Hence their intersection will be a neighborhood of Y also. So N intersection with X minus F will be another neighborhood of Y. Now let us check whether this new neighborhood contains any point of the set A. If there exists, say, an element of N intersection with X minus F where A belongs to the set capital A, then it is obvious that this A will be a member of N and A element of X minus F. But A element of N and A element of capital A would imply that A belongs to capital A intersection with N minus singleton set Y if A is not equal to small y. That is, small a will be a member of capital F if small a and y are different. But this is not possible since we have assumed that A belongs to X minus F. Therefore, we must have A equal to small y. So, we can say that this neighborhood, that is N intersection X minus F, contains no point of A except possibly small y. Even if this neighborhood contains a point of capital A, then that point should be equal to y. So, it does not contain any point of capital A except possibly y. But we have assumed that this point small y is an accumulation point of capital A. So, any neighborhood of this point y must contain at least one point of capital A other than y itself. But we have a neighborhood N intersection X minus F here, which does not contain any point of capital A other than y. So this contradicts the fact that y is an accumulation point of capital A. So our assumption that F is finite must be wrong. So we can conclude that capital F is infinite. And hence, every neighborhood of y contains infinitely many points of A. This completes our proof. Next, let us define the T2 spaces. A space X is said to satisfy the T2 axiom or the Hausdorff property, or we can say that the space is T2 or Hausdorff if for any two distinct points X and Y, there exist disjoint open sets U and V in capital X such that X element of U and Y element of V. From the definition itself, it is obvious that every T2 space is T1, but the converse is false. That is, every T1 space need not be T2. For example, an infinite set with the cofinite topology is T1 but not T2. Let X tau be a cofinite space and assume that the underlying set X is infinite. Then, if we take any 2 points X and Y which are distinct, then U equal to X minus singleton set Y and V equal to X minus singleton set X are open sets such that X element of U, Y does not belong to U, and Y element of V, but X does not belong to V. So the space is T1, but this space will not be T2. If possible, assume that X tau is T2. Then if we consider any two distinct points of the space, there will exist two open sets U and V such that X element of U, Y element of V and U intersection V is equal to phi. But X element of U and Y element of V implies that both U and V are non-empty. Hence, U and V must be cofinite subsets of X, which implies that both X minus U and X minus V are finite. Now, U intersection V equal to phi implies that U is a subset of X minus V, where X minus V is finite. Since U is a subset of a finite set, U itself must be finite, which will imply that its complement X minus U must be infinite, since the underlying set X, our space X, is infinite. But this is a contradiction to the previous statement that X minus U and X minus V are finite sets. So, we must conclude that X is not T2. So, this space, an infinite set with cofinite topology, is T1 but not T2. Also, we can observe that all metric spaces are T2. If X D is a metric space and if X and Y are two distinct points of the metric space, then D of xy is greater than 0, and if we choose a real number R such that 0 less than R less than D of xy by 2, then we can construct two sets U and V such that U is equal to the open ball centered at X with radius R, and similarly V be the open ball centered at Y with radius R. Then U intersection Y will be empty from the construction itself, and X will be a member of U, Y will be a member of V. So the space is T2. In a Hausdorff space or in a T2 space, the limits of sequences are unique. To prove this proposition, we will consider a sequence Xn in the Hausdorff space X, and if possible we assume that it converges to more than one point. So we'll take Xn converges to small x and Xn converges to Y as n tends to infinity. We need to show that X is equal to Y. We assume that X is not equal to Y. Then, since X and Y are distinct, there will exist two open sets U and V in capital X such that X element of U, Y element of V and U intersection V equals phi. Since X element of U an open set containing X, and since Xn converges to X, using the definition of convergence, there will exist an integer, a positive integer n1 such that Xn element of U for all n greater than or equal to this n1. Similarly, since y element of V and xn converges to y, there will exist a positive integer n2 such that xn element of V for all n greater than or equal to n2. So, if m is an integer which is greater than or equal to both n1 and n2, then m satisfies these two inequalities. So, xn m will belong to U as well as V. xm will belong to U and xm will belong to V. So, xm will be a member of U intersection V, which implies that U intersection V is non-empty, which is a contradiction to our assumption that U intersection V is empty. So, x must be equal to y. Hence, we can say that limits of sequences in X when they exist are unique. This completes the proof. Note that this proposition does not say that in a T2 space every sequence has a unique limit. It only says that if the limit exists, then it will be unique. A space X is said to be regular at a point, say small x, if for any closed set C not containing the point small x, there exists disjoint open sets U and V such that X element of U and C subset of V. So, we have a point small x and a closed set C not containing X. Then there exists two open sets U and V which separates the point from the closed set. Then we say that the space is regular at that point small x. Also, we say that a space is regular if it is regular at each of its points. A space X is said to be normal if we can separate any two disjoint closed sets. That is, if for every two disjoint closed subsets C and D, there exist two disjoint open sets U and V such that C is contained in U and D is contained in V. So, there is a space X, there are two closed sets C and D, then there must be two disjoint open sets, say U and V, separating those two closed sets. A topological space is said to satisfy the T3 axiom, or we say that the space is T3 if it is regular and T1. Similarly, we say that a space is T4 if and only if it is normal and T1. Theorem: the axioms T0, T1, T2, T3 and T4 form a hierarchy of progressively stronger conditions. That is, every T4 space is T3, every T3 space is T2, every T2 space is T1 and every T1 space is T0. It is obvious from the definition itself that T1 implies T0 and T2 implies T1. To prove that T3 spaces are T2, let us assume that the space X star is T3. That is, it is regular and T1. To prove that X is T2, let us consider two distinct points of the space X. Then, since the space is T1, every finite set is closed. So, in particular, singleton set Y is closed. Thus, we have a point small x element of capital X and a closed set, say C, which is equal to singleton set Y, which does not contain the point X. Therefore, since the space is regular, there will exist open sets U and V such that X element of U, C subset of V and U and V are mutually disjoint. Therefore, we have X element of U, Y element of V and U intersection V is equal to 5. So, there exists two disjoint open sets separating the 2 points X and Y. Here, since X and Y are arbitrary, we can conclude that the space is T2. So, when the space is regular and T1, it will be T2 also. Therefore, T3 implies T2. Now, we need to show that every T4 space is T3. Let us consider a space X star and assume that it is T4. That is, it is normal and T1. To prove that the space is T3, we need to show that it is both regular and T1. Since we have assumed that the space is T1, it is enough to show that the space is regular. So, let us consider a point of the space and a closed subset, say C of space X, such that X does not belong to C. Now, since the space is T1, every finite set is closed. So, singleton set X is closed. Let this be D. Then C and D are disjoint closed subsets of the space X. The space X is normal. Therefore, by the normality of the space, there will exist open sets U and V such that D subset of U, C subset of V and U intersection V equals 5. Since D is a subset of U and since D is the singleton set X, we can say that X element of U. Thus, we have X belongs to U, C is contained in V and U intersection V is empty. Since the point X and the closed set C not containing X are arbitrary, we can conclude that the space is regular. We had already assumed that the space is T1. So, the space is regular and T1, which implies that X is T3. Thus, we have proved that every T4 space is T3, every T3 space is T2, every T2 space is T1 and every T1 space is T0. Thus, these axioms form a hierarchy of progressively stronger conditions. This completes our proof. All metric spaces are T4 and hence they are T3 as well. We have already proved that metric spaces are Hausdorff and hence T1. It only remains to show that they are normal. Let XD be a metric space and let us take two disjoint closed subsets C and D of X. Then if either C or D is empty, then we can separate them by empty set and the whole set X. So, let us assume that both C and D are non-empty. Now, define a function f from x to r by f of x equal to d of xc minus d of xd. Since this is the difference of two continuous real valued functions, f is also continuous. Also, note that d of xc equal to 0 if and only if x element of c and d of xd is equal to 0 if and only if x element of d, since both c and d are closed in X. Thus, f will be positive on D and it will be negative on C. Since f of x is d of x c minus d of x d, whenever x element of d of x d will be 0, so function will be positive. Similarly, when x element of c, d of x c will be 0, so f of x will be negative. Now, if we take u to be the inverse of open interval minus infinity 0, then c will be a subset of u. Similarly, if we take v to be the inverse image of open interval 0 infinity, then d will be contained in v. Thus, u and v are open subsets and they are disjoint and they contains c and d respectively. So, the space X is normal as required. A space X is said to be completely regular if for any point small x and closed subset C not containing x, there exists a continuous function f from x to unit interval such that f of x equal to 0 and f of y equal to 1 for all y element of C. That is, if there exists a continuous function from x to unit interval such that the point x is mapped to 0 and every point of the closed set is mapped to 1. A space is said to be taken off if it is completely regular and T1. Proposition: every completely regular space is regular. Therefore, every Tikhonov space, that is every completely regular plus T1 space will be regular and T1, that is T3. So, every Tikhonov space is T3. Assume that the space is completely regular. To prove that the space is regular, let us consider a point small x and a closed set C not containing that point. Since the space is completely regular, there will exist a continuous function f from x to unit interval such that it assumes the value 0 at x and assumes value 1 at all points of C. So, 0 and 1 are two distinct points of this Hausdorff space. Then there will exist two disjoint open sets G and H separating these two points 0 and 1. So 0 belongs to G, 1 belongs to H and G intersection H is equal to phi. Now let U be the inverse image of G and V be the inverse image of H. Since G and H are disjoint, U and V will be mutually disjoint. Since the function is continuous, these inverse images will be open. So, U and V are open. Since 0 belongs to G and since f of x is equal to 0, x will belong to U. Similarly, since 1 belongs to H and since the value 1 is assumed at all points of C by the function f, C will be contained in the inverse image of H. That is, C will be a subset of V. So, this shows that X is a regular space whenever it is completely regular. If X is also T1, then the space will be T3. This completes our proof. Proposition: for the topological space X, the following statements are equivalent. First statement: X is regular. Second one: for any point small x element of capital X and any open set G containing small x, there exists an open set H containing X such that H closure is contained in G. Third statement: the family of all closed neighborhoods of any point of capital X forms a local base at that point. To prove that 1 implies 2. Assume that space is regular. Now take a point small x element of capital X and G be an open set containing small x. Then if we let C to be the complement of G, then it is a closed set and it does not contain the point small x. Thus we have a point small x and a closed set C not containing small x. Since the space is regular, using the definition of regularity, there will exist disjoint open sets U and V such that X element of U, C subset of V. U intersection V equal to phi implies that U is a subset of X minus V. Also, C in subset of V implies that X minus V will be contained in X minus C. And X minus C is equal to G. So we have X minus V is contained in G. Combining all these, we can write X element of U, U is contained in X minus V and X minus V is contained in G. Since U is contained in X minus V, where X minus V is closed, we can say that U closure will be contained in X minus V using characterization of closure of a set. U closure will be the smallest closed set containing U. So U closure must be contained in X minus V. Now we have X element of U. U is obviously contained in U closure. U closure is contained in X minus V and X minus V is contained in G. If we let H to be the open set U, then H is open and it contains small x and we have H closure is contained in G. So we have proved that for any point small x and any open set G containing small x, there exists an open set H containing small x such that H closure is contained in G. Therefore, we have proved that 1 implies 2. Now to prove that 2 implies 3, we assume 2, and to prove that the family of all closed neighborhoods of any point of capital X is a local base at that point. We take a point small x and let N be a neighborhood of small x. Let G be the interior of N. Then G is an open set. Being interior, it will be open. So G is an open set and it does contain the point small x. So by applying assumption 2, statement 2, there exists an open set H such that X element of H and H closure is contained in G. But H closure is a closed set, and since H is open, it is a neighborhood. So H closure is a superset of a neighborhood. So H closure itself will be a neighborhood of X. Thus we have H closure is a closed neighborhood of X and H closure is contained in G and G is contained in N. So it is contained in N. Thus corresponding to every neighborhood N of small x, there exists a closed neighborhood contained in that N. So we can say that the family of all closed neighborhoods of X is a local base at that point. Now to prove that 3 implies 1, we assume 3. That is, we assume that the family of all closed neighborhoods of a point small x is a local base at small x for each x element of the space. Now to prove that the space is regular, we consider a point small x element of capital X and C to be a closed subset not containing that point. Then X minus C will be a neighborhood, since X minus C will be open and it will contain small x. So X minus C can be regarded as a neighborhood of small x. So by 3, there will exist a closed neighborhood, say capital M of X, such that capital M is contained in this neighborhood X minus C. Let U be the interior of M. Now we need to construct two closed sets which separates the point X from the closed set C. So at first we are constructing an open set which contains our point small x. So we let U to be the interior of this set. Then since M is a neighborhood of small x, X will belong to interior of M. Also, since M is closed and M contains the point X, we can consider the set X minus M, the complement of M, and we let it be labeled as V. Then both U and V will be open sets. And since M is contained in the complement of C, V intersection with M is equal to phi, since V is equal to X minus M. So V intersection with subset of M is also empty. That is, V intersection with U is empty. So V and U are mutually disjoint. Since M is a subset of X minus C, C will be contained in X minus M, that is V. So we have two disjoint open sets U and V such that X element of U, C subset of V. This proves that space X is regular. So 3 implies 1. You have a homework. Prove the following proposition for normal spaces. Prove that these 3 statements are equivalent. First statement is that X is normal. Second statement, for any closed set C and any open set G containing C, there exists an open set H such that C subset of H and H closure subset of G. Third statement, for any closed set C and any open set G containing C, there exists an open set H and a closed set K such that C subset of H, H subset of K and K is contained in G. Prove the equivalence of these 3 statements as a homework. Next proposition, regularity is hereditary property. To prove this, let us consider a regular space X and consider a subspace Y of the space X. To prove that Y is regular, let us consider a point small y of the space Y and let D be a closed subset of Y. Then, using the definition of subspace topology, D will be of the form C intersection Y, where C is a closed subset of X. Since Y does not belong to D, Y does not belong to C also. Because if Y element of C, then Y will belong to C intersection with Y, as Y is a point of capital Y, which will imply that Y element of D, which is not possible. So Y does not belong to the closed set C also. So we have a point Y which belongs to X and a closed set C of the space X such that Y does not belong to C. Since the space X is regular, there will exist 2 open sets U and V in X such that Y element of U, C contained in V and U intersection V is empty. Now, if we let G equal to U intersection Y and H equal to V intersection Y, then both G and H will be open with respect to the subspace topology on Y. And we have Y element of U will imply that Y element of U intersection with Y, that is Y element of G. Similarly, C subset of V will imply that C intersection Y subset of V intersection with Y, that is D is a subset of H. Also, since U intersection with V is empty, their subsets G is a subset of U, H is a subset of V. So their intersection will be empty also. Thus, we have proved that there exist two disjoint open sets G and H in the space Y such that Y element of G, D subset of H and G intersection H is empty. Hence, the space Y is also regular. So, we can conclude that regularity is a hereditary property.